Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when everything seems to come crashing down. You face hardships, feel weary, and wonder if there's any way out. These are the moments when many ask, "Why, God, why is this happening to me?" And in those moments, it can feel as though you're walking through a desert, dry and barren, with no end in sight. But I want you to know today that you are not alone. God has not abandoned you, nor is He punishing you. Instead, He is preparing you, He is testing you. When you hear the word test, it may bring to mind an exam, a measurement of your knowledge or skills. But when God tests you, it's not a test of your knowledge or abilities. It's a test of your faith, your trust in Him. It's a refining process that will take you through the fire, but will leave you stronger, more resolute, and more aligned with His purpose for your life. The story of Joseph in the Bible is a perfect illustration of God's testing. Joseph was the youngest of 12 brothers, and by all accounts he was his father's favorite. This favoritism created jealousy and hatred in his brothers, and they plotted against him. They threw him into a pit and then sold him into slavery. From that moment on, Joseph's life seemed to spiral out of control. He was betrayed by his family, falsely accused of a crime, and imprisoned for years. Yet through it all, God never left him. Joseph didn't understand why he was going through such hardship. But looking back, he could see that every setback was part of God's greater plan. His imprisonment led to an opportunity to interpret the dreams of Pharaoh, which ultimately brought him to a position of power. And in that power, he was able to save not only Egypt, but also his own family from famine. Joseph's testing was not only about his personal growth. It was about preparing him for the breakthrough that would impact an entire nation. God tests us in many ways. Sometimes it's through our circumstances, those situations that seem impossible to overcome. Other times it's through our relationships. God might allow conflict, misunderstandings, or heartache in your relationships to refine you. And yes, it can be painful, but remember, He is shaping you. He is molding your character. He is teaching you patience, humility, and trust. The Apostle Peter wrote about God's refining process in 1 Peter 1, 6-7, "In all this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed." Peter compared the testing of our faith to the refining of gold. When gold is refined, it's heated to extreme temperatures, and all the impurities rise to the surface. The refiner removes these impurities until only pure gold remains. Likewise, God allows trials to refine our faith, to burn away the things that hinder our relationship with Him. What emerges from the fire is something more valuable, your faith, stronger and purer than it was before. But don't miss the point here. The fire is not the end. The fire is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to prepare you for something greater. God is using the pressure, the struggle, the difficult seasons of your life to shape you into the person He created you to be. He's preparing you for a breakthrough. Every trial you face is an opportunity to grow closer to God. When you're in the fire, you can choose to either focus on your circumstances and despair, or you can choose to focus on the one who is with you in the fire. Just as God was with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace, He is with you in your trials. He's not distant or indifferent. He is right there, walking beside you, strengthening you, preparing you for what's ahead. God's testing is not always about what you can do for Him. It's about what He is doing in you. It's about developing your character so that you can handle the blessings and the responsibilities He wants to give you. He is building a foundation in you that will support the weight of His purposes for your life. If God were to bless you with a breakthrough before you were ready, it could overwhelm you, but He loves you too much to give you something that would harm you. So He allows you to go through the process of testing to prepare you for the great things He has in store. In the book of James, we are reminded, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. James 1:2-4. This is not a call to rejoice in the hardship itself, but rather to rejoice in the fact that God is using that hardship for your good. He is developing perseverance, patience, and maturity in you. Your breakthrough is on the other side of this testing. The struggle you're facing today will eventually give way to a victory you can't yet see. It may not happen in your timing, and it may not happen in the way you expect, but rest assured, God has a plan. He knows what you need, and He will provide for you at just the right moment. So don't be discouraged. Don't give up. Keep trusting, keep believing, and keep pressing forward. Your breakthrough is coming. God is preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. The challenges you face today are not the end. They are just the beginning of a new season, a season of breakthrough, a season of growth, a season of His blessing. If you are in the midst of testing right now, take heart. You are not alone. God is with you. He is refining you, shaping you, and preparing you for the breakthrough that is ahead. Trust His process. Trust His timing, and know that He is faithful to complete the work He has begun in you. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Keep your eyes on the one who holds your future. When we think about the tests we face in life, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, as if we are being pushed to our limits. The pressures of life, whether in relationships, work, health, or personal challenges, can sometimes feel unbearable. In those moments, it's easy to question why God would allow such things to happen. Yet, we need to understand that God does not test us to harm us. He tests us to refine us. God's tests are not about punishing us, but rather purifying us. In the same way that gold is refined by fire, our faith and character are refined through trials. Gold, when first extracted from the earth, is filled with impurities. It cannot be used in its raw form. The process of refining gold involves heating it to incredibly high temperatures, which causes all the impurities to rise to the surface. These impurities are then removed, leaving only pure gold. In the same way, our faith is tested through life's trial. The difficulties we face serve as a refining fire, removing the things in our lives that hinder our spiritual growth. It's essential to remember that when God tests us, He isn't doing it because He doesn't know what we're capable of. He's doing it because He wants us to recognize what's inside of us, both the strengths and weaknesses. Through the testing, we begin to see areas of our character that need to be strengthened. We realize that we can't rely on our own strength or understanding to get through life. We learn that we need God, and in that dependency, our faith grows deeper. In the midst of these trials, it's important to trust that God is at work, even if we can't immediately see the outcome. God sees the big picture, the end result, and He knows what we need to grow and develop into the person He created us to be. He allows us to go through difficult circumstances because He knows that, on the other side of the trial, we will emerge stronger, more faithful, and more aligned with His purpose for our lives. A key aspect of God's refining process is that it shapes our character. Just as a sculptor chisels away at a block of marble to reveal a beautiful statue, God works in us, molding our hearts and minds to reflect His image. Through trials, He teaches us patience, humility, and dependence on Him. We learn to trust Him more deeply, even when life doesn't make sense. Our understanding of His love and faithfulness becomes clearer as we experience His presence in the midst of hardship. This refining process isn't always easy, and there will be moments when we question why we're going through certain things. But in those moments, we must remember that God's ways are higher than our ways, and His purposes are greater than our understanding. While we might be focused on our immediate struggles, God is working on our eternal character. His goal is not just to help us survive the present moment, but to transform us into individuals who reflect His glory and carry out His will. Another important thing to understand is that God's tests are not random or cruel. They are specifically designed to stretch us, not break us. Just as a coach pushes an athlete to run farther, lift heavier weights, or practice longer to improve their performance, God allows challenges to push us beyond what we thought we were capable of. These tests are opportunities for spiritual growth and strength, and God never allows a test to come into our lives without equipping us to face it. The Bible assures us that God will not allow us to be tested beyond what we can bear, and that He will provide a way for us to endure. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Ultimately, God's testing is meant to bring us closer to Him. When we face trials, we are given the opportunity to lean on God in ways we wouldn't otherwise. Our dependence on Him deepens, and our relationship with Him becomes more intimate. The difficulties in life draw us to our knees in prayer, help us to seek His wisdom, and rely on His strength. Through it all, God is refining us, molding us, and preparing us for the breakthrough that is to come. In the end, God's testing is a beautiful, albeit challenging, process. It's not about us being perfect or without flaws. It's about God perfecting our faith and making us more like Him. Through each test, He is shaping us into vessels that can carry His glory and fulfill His purposes in our lives. Though the process may feel painful, we can trust that God is working in us, refining us, and preparing us for a future full of blessings and purpose. The trials we face in life often come with a heavy weight. Whether it's a sudden crisis, a long season of struggle, or ongoing challenges, it can feel as though we are being tested beyond our limits. In these moments, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. We might wonder, why is this happening, or how can I get through this? But if we look at these tests from God's perspective, we begin to see that they are not merely obstacles to endure, but opportunities for us to build trust and patience, qualities that are essential for our spiritual growth. One of the most important things to realize during times of testing is that God allows these challenges to help us grow in our reliance on Him. We are not meant to face the hardships of life in our own strength. Often, we might be tempted to lean on our own understanding, relying on our abilities, or trying to fix things in our own way. But God uses these difficult times to show us that we need Him. He allows us to reach the point where we can no longer handle things on our own, so that we will turn to Him, trust in His wisdom, and lean on His strength. Patience is often the fruit that is cultivated through life's tests. We live in a world that values instant gratification. We want things now, and we want them to be easy. However, God knows that true growth takes time. His plan for us involves shaping our hearts and minds to be more like Him, and that process requires patience. When we are tested, we are forced to wait on God's timing, to trust that He knows what's best for us, even when we can't see the full picture. Patience in testing helps us develop a deeper trust in God's perfect timing and His ability to work all things for our good. In addition to patience, testing also teaches us to trust God more fully. Trust is not something that can be built overnight. It is developed through experience. When we go through trials, we have the opportunity to see God's faithfulness in action. As we walk through the storm, God shows us His provision, His protection, and His love. Each time we experience His faithfulness in the midst of hardship, our trust in Him grows stronger. The more we experience His goodness in our trials, the more we realize that He is trustworthy, and our faith deepens as a result. Through testing, we also learn to depend on God in ways that we never would otherwise. When everything is going well in life, it's easy to feel self-sufficient. We may not think we need God as much because life feels manageable, but when we face difficulties, we are reminded that we cannot navigate life's challenges on our own. We need God's wisdom, His strength, and His guidance. God uses these moments of testing to teach us humility and to remind us that we are dependent on Him for everything. As we face these tests, we also begin to develop perseverance. James 1:3-4 reminds us that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Perseverance is the ability to keep going, even when things are tough. It is the ability to endure, to trust that God is working even when we can't see the outcome. Perseverance is built through repeated tests, through seasons where we are stretched and pushed beyond our comfort zones. It is in these moments that our faith is solidified, and we learn to trust that God will bring us through to the other side. One of the greatest gifts that comes from building trust and patience during times of testing is the deepening of our relationship with God. When we rely on Him through our trials, we learn more about His character, His faithfulness, His love, His goodness. We experience Him in ways that we wouldn't if everything in our lives were smooth sailing. These trials draw us closer to Him, helping us to grow in intimacy with our Creator. Furthermore, as we grow in trust and patience, we become more equipped to help others who are going through their own trials. When we've walked through testing and have seen God's faithfulness firsthand, we can comfort others with the same comfort we have received. 2 Corinthians 1:4. Our experiences with God's faithfulness allow us to be vessels of encouragement to those around us, to offer hope and strength to those who may be struggling. Ultimately, the testing that God allows in our lives is not something to fear or resent. It is an opportunity to grow, to trust, to learn patience, and to deepen our relationship with Him. While it is not easy, it is in these moments of difficulty that we experience God's presence in profound ways. Each test is an invitation to draw closer to God and to be transformed into the person He created us to be. Through trust and patience, we emerge stronger, more mature, and more prepared to face the next chapter in our journey with God. Every challenge we face in life carries with it a deeper purpose, though it may not always be immediately clear. It's natural to feel overwhelmed or disheartened during times of hardship, but in these moments, we must remember that our struggles are not meaningless. Every trial we encounter is an opportunity to grow, to be shaped, and to be prepared for the future that God has in store for us. The trials we face today are not just random obstacles. They are divinely ordained moments that serve to equip us for the breakthrough that lies ahead. God is not distant when we are in the midst of our struggles. He is actively working in our lives, even if we don't see the results right away. Many times we focus on the pain of the present moment, wishing for relief, but we must keep in mind that the hardship is only temporary. The Bible reminds us that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. What may feel like an endless season of struggle is only a part of a larger process, one that is preparing us for something far greater than we can imagine. One of the key aspects of God's testing is that it builds character in us. Character is developed not in times of ease, but in times of trial. It is when we face adversity that our true character is revealed and refined. We are forced to confront our weaknesses, our fears, and our flaws, but in doing so, we also discover our strength, resilience, and reliance on God. God uses these moments of testing to remove the things in our lives that are not aligned with His purpose. The challenges we face help to purify our hearts, molding us into people who are better equipped to handle the blessings He has in store. It is in the midst of these trials that we begin to understand God's greater purpose. We may not immediately see how our present situation fits into His plan, but with time we can look back and see how God has used our struggles to prepare us for the next phase of our journey. When we pass through testing, we emerge stronger and more resilient, with a deeper understanding of God's faithfulness. What seemed like a burden at one point becomes a stepping stone, leading us toward the breakthrough we could not have experienced without first going through the refining process. Moreover, God's testing allows us to grow in our faith. It is through our struggles that we learn to trust Him more deeply. Our faith is not a passive belief. It is a living, active trust that is strengthened through trials. When life is easy, it's easy to say we trust God, but it's when we face the storms of life that our faith is put to the test. The Bible encourages us in Romans 5, 3-4, we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Through our testing, our perseverance grows, our character is shaped, and our hope in God is solidified. It's also important to recognize that the testing we go through is often a means of preparation for the breakthroughs that lie ahead. God does not allow us to go through trials without a purpose. He is preparing us for something greater than we can imagine. The breakthrough may come in many forms, perhaps in the form of an answered prayer, a new opportunity, or a deepened relationship with God. Whatever it is, we know that it will be worth the struggle we endured. As we learn to persevere through the tests, we are being shaped to handle the blessings that are coming our way. The process of testing is also a way in which God equips us to be a source of encouragement and strength for others. When we experience breakthroughs, we are able to share our testimonies with others who are walking through similar struggles. The lessons we learn through testing are not meant to be kept to ourselves, but to be shared with others who need to hear of God's faithfulness. God uses our experiences to minister to others, allowing us to be a light in dark places and a voice of hope to those who may feel hopeless. Additionally, God's testing helps us to develop a sense of spiritual maturity. Through trials, we learn to rely on God in ways that we wouldn't in times of peace. We develop a deeper understanding of His Word, His promises, and His faithfulness. Spiritual maturity comes when we no longer focus on the challenges themselves, but on the God who is with us through them. We begin to see beyond our circumstances and focus on the eternal purposes that God is working out in our lives. This perspective shift allows us to view our trials with a sense of purpose, knowing that they are not in vain but are part of God's perfect plan. Ultimately, the trials we face are not to be feared but embraced. They are the tools God uses to prepare us for the breakthrough that is coming. While the road may be difficult, we can take comfort in knowing that God is with us every step of the way. He is not only refining us, but also shaping us for a future full of promise and purpose. We are being prepared for a breakthrough that will surpass our expectations, one that will make all the struggles we have faced worth it. As we endure these tests, we can hold on to the hope that God is working in us and through us, shaping us into the person He created us to be. When we find ourselves facing the intense heat of trials and adversity, it's easy to feel abandoned or alone. The struggles of life can sometimes make us feel as though we are walking through the fire without any hope of relief. But it is crucial to remember that God is always with us, even in the most difficult moments. He doesn't leave us to face our trials alone. He walks beside us through every challenge, offering His strength, comfort, and guidance. Just as God was present with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace, He is with us in the fires of life, refining us and helping us emerge stronger than before. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the book of Daniel is a powerful reminder of God's presence in the midst of trials. These three young men were faced with an incredibly difficult decision. The king, Nebuchadnezzar, commanded everyone in his kingdom to bow down and worship a golden image that he had created. However, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were faithful to the one true God, refused to obey. They stood firm in their faith, even though it meant facing the fiery furnace as punishment. As a result, they were thrown into the blazing fire, and yet something miraculous happened. While they were in the fire, they were not alone. The Bible tells us that when the king looked into the furnace, he saw not just 3 men, but 4. The 4th man, as described in the scripture, looked like the son of the gods, Daniel 3:25. God Himself entered the furnace with them. He did not remove them from the fire, but He was present with them, protecting them and ensuring that they were not harmed. When they emerged from the fire, not a hair on their heads was singed, and they didn't even smell like smoke. The only thing that burned away were the ropes that had bound them. This story illustrates a profound truth. God is not just a distant observer of our trials. He is a constant and faithful companion in the midst of them. The trials we face may not always be removed immediately, but God's presence is always with us. He does not leave us to struggle on our own. He enters the furnace with us. Just as he was with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he is with us in our own fires, offering us his protection, his peace, and his strength to endure. God's presence in the fire is not just about physical protection. It is also about spiritual growth. When we go through difficult times, we often experience a deeper sense of God's closeness. In the midst of our struggles, we are drawn to him in a way that we might not be when life is easy. Our dependence on him deepens, and our relationship with him becomes more intimate. The fire refines us, purifying our faith and helping us to develop a stronger, more resilient trust in God. It is in the fire that we learn to rely on God more fully and experience his presence in profound ways. God's presence in our trials also serves as a reminder of his ultimate sovereignty. When we are in the midst of a storm, it's easy to focus solely on the chaos and pain around us. But God's presence in the fire is a reminder that he is in control. He is the one who holds all things together, and nothing happens outside of his knowledge or will. He is not surprised by the trials we face, and he is not powerless to help us through them. His sovereignty means that even in the hardest moments of life, we can trust that he is at work, shaping us, strengthening us, and preparing us for something greater. It's also important to note that God's presence in our trials gives us the courage to stand firm in our faith, just as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did. These men did not bow down to the golden image, even when faced with the threat of death. Their faith was unshakable because they knew that God was with them, no matter what. In the same way, when we are in the midst of our own trials, we are called to stand firm in our faith. We can be confident that God is with us, giving us the strength to endure and helping us to remain faithful even when the pressure is intense. In our trials, God is teaching us to trust him in new ways. He is showing us that our faith is not just a belief for the good times, but a trust that holds firm in the fire. The fire refines us, making our faith more pure and stronger than before. We can look back on the times when we have faced difficulties and see how God's presence has carried us through, how he has been faithful to uphold us and sustain us. Each trial we face becomes a testimony of God's goodness and faithfulness in our lives. When we face the fires of life, we can be sure of this: we are never alone. God is always with us, walking through the fire with us. He will not abandon us in our struggles, and he will never leave us to face them on our own. He is with us to protect, refine, and strengthen us. His presence is a constant reminder that he is in control, that he is faithful, and that he is working all things for our good. Even in the hardest of times, we can take comfort in knowing that God is with us, holding us and preparing us for the breakthrough that is to come. The idea of a breakthrough is both inspiring and challenging. We often look forward to breakthroughs in our lives, whether they come in the form of new opportunities, personal growth, or spiritual renewal. However, what we must recognize is that breakthroughs rarely come without preparation, and preparation often involves testing. While the testing may seem uncomfortable, it is through these trials that God prepares us for the blessings that lie ahead. The breakthrough comes not as a mere surprise, but as the culmination of the work God has been doing in us through our struggles. Every difficulty we face is part of a larger plan, a divine purpose that God has for our lives. When we are walking through a challenging season, it's easy to feel like we're stuck or that we've reached a dead end. But God's timing is never random. He uses the testing to prepare us for something greater. We might not always understand the why behind our trials, but we can trust that there is a reason for everything we experience. Every test we face is an opportunity for God to work in us, to strengthen our faith, and to prepare us for the breakthrough that is waiting on the other side. One of the most crucial aspects of preparation for a breakthrough is the development of perseverance. It is through the process of enduring hardships that our strength grows. The Apostle Paul reminds us in Romans 5:3-4, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope." Each trial we face builds our ability to persevere. This perseverance doesn't come by avoiding struggles, but through enduring them with faith. As we persist through trials, we grow stronger spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. We learn to rely more on God, trusting that He is working everything for our good. God does not waste any part of our journey. Each test, each moment of hardship, and each struggle is a lesson that prepares us for the breakthrough ahead. Breakthroughs do not just come from a change in circumstances. They come from the transformation that occurs within us. When we go through difficult times and rely on God, our hearts are softened, our character is refined, and our trust in Him deepened. The breakthrough is not only a change in what happens around us, but also a change in who we are. God uses the testing to prepare us to handle the blessings and responsibilities that come with breakthrough. Another important aspect of breakthrough is recognizing that it comes in God's timing, not ours. We may grow impatient, wondering when the breakthrough will come, but we must remember that God's ways are higher than our ways, and His timing is perfect. Just as a farmer cannot rush the growth of crops, we cannot rush the work God is doing in our lives. We might want immediate results, but God knows that His plans are always better than what we can imagine. His timing is not only about when the breakthrough comes, but about ensuring that we are fully prepared to receive it. If we rush the process, we may miss the lessons God is teaching us along the way. Breakthrough often involves a change in perspective. During times of testing, it is easy to focus on the difficulty itself and become consumed by the challenges. But breakthrough comes when we shift our focus from the struggle to the God who is with us in it. When we look beyond our current circumstances and fix our eyes on the one who is in control, we begin to see the greater purpose in our trials. Our perspective changes, and we understand that God is not just allowing us to go through these difficulties for no reason. He is using them to shape us, refine us, and prepare us for what He has planned. Sometimes breakthroughs come in unexpected ways. We may have an idea in our minds about what the breakthrough will look like, but God often surprises us by doing something different, something better. Just as the Israelites expected to enter the promised land in one way, but God led them on a different path, we may think we know how our breakthrough should come. However, God has a greater plan in mind, one that may involve a detour, a season of waiting, or a different approach than we expected. Trusting in God's plan means being open to His leading, even when it takes us in a direction we didn't anticipate. As we wait for our breakthrough, we must also recognize the importance of faith. The process of waiting and enduring trials is an act of faith in itself. Faith is believing that even when we don't see the end result, God is still at work behind the scenes. When we choose to trust God during the testing, we are expressing our faith in His promises. Our faith grows stronger as we learn to rely on God, not on our own understanding. And as our faith grows, so does our ability to handle the breakthrough when it comes. Breakthrough is also a reminder of God's faithfulness. Throughout Scripture, we see stories of God's people going through trials before experiencing moments of breakthrough. Whether it was Abraham waiting for the promise of a son, Joseph enduring years of suffering before being exalted in Egypt, or David running for his life before becoming king, breakthrough came only after a season of preparation. Each of these individuals was tested and refined, but they emerged victorious because of their faith in God's faithfulness. In the same way, when we experience our own breakthroughs, we can look back on the tests and trials we've faced and see how God has been faithful every step of the way. Ultimately, the breakthrough is not just about receiving a blessing, but about becoming the person God has intended for us to be. It's about spiritual growth, deepening trust, and learning to rely fully on Him. God uses the testing to prepare us, to shape us, and to position us for the breakthrough that is to come. and when it does come, we will be ready to embrace it fully, knowing that it is the result of God's faithful work in our lives. In every season of testing, it's easy to focus on the challenge at hand, to become consumed by the difficulties and uncertainties we face. But what if we were to look beyond the immediate struggle and see the greater purpose that lies within the test? Trials and hardships often lead to a deeper understanding of God's love and power, and it is through these challenges that God often transforms us. While it can be difficult to see in the moment, it is in the midst of these trials that we are being molded into the people God created us to be, and it is often through these difficult times that we experience God in ways we never would otherwise. Testing is not meant to break us down, but rather to build us up. When we face trials, it may feel like our faith is being tested to its limits, but it is during these moments that our roots in God's love and promises grow deeper. God's intention is not to leave us in despair, but to strengthen our relationship with Him, to refine our faith, and to prepare us for what He has in store. Trials force us to depend on God more fully, to rely on His wisdom rather than our own, and to trust in His timing even when we don't understand what is happening. Through the process of testing, we are refined like gold in the fire, each challenge purifying our character, removing the impurities, and making us more like Christ. One of the greatest gifts that come from trials is the development of spiritual maturity. It is easy to grow complacent when things are going well, but trials force us to examine our hearts and priorities. In times of testing, we are challenged to go beyond superficial faith and to dig deeper into our relationship with God. It is through these trials that we grow in understanding and patience, learning to trust God in new ways. The Bible tells us that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, James 1:3, and perseverance is a key component of spiritual maturity. As we persevere through life's difficulties, we learn to rely more fully on God's strength, knowing that He is with us every step of the way. Testing also brings us closer to the heart of God. In times of hardship, we often cry out to Him, seeking His guidance, comfort, and strength. And it is in those moments that we discover the depth of His love for us. God does not abandon us when we face trials. Instead, He draws near to us, offering His peace, His presence, and His faithfulness. Through these intimate moments with God, we experience His comfort in ways we could not if everything were smooth sailing. Our relationship with Him deepens, and we begin to see more clearly how He has been working in our lives all along, even in the midst of our pain. The love of God is not just an abstract concept. It becomes tangible and real in the midst of testing. The trials we face also help us become more compassionate toward others. When we go through hardships, we develop a greater empathy for those who are suffering. We begin to understand the struggles of others in a deeper way, and as a result, we are better equipped to offer encouragement and support. The Apostle Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 1, "For that God comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God." Our experiences with God's faithfulness during our trials enable us to minister to others who are going through similar struggles. We become a source of hope and strength, offering the same comfort that God has given us to those in need. In addition to spiritual maturity and compassion, testing also builds resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, to keep moving forward even when faced with setbacks and difficulties. Life is full of challenges, but it is through those challenges that we develop the resilience needed to keep going. When we persevere through trials, we learn that we are not defined by our circumstances. Instead, we are defined by our relationship with God and the strength He provides. As we experience God's faithfulness in the midst of adversity, we learn to trust that no matter what comes our way, God will give us the strength to endure. With each trial, our resilience grows, and we become more capable of facing future challenges with confidence and faith. Testing also serves to refine our purpose. During times of hardship, we are forced to reassess our goals, motivations, and priorities. We may discover that certain things we once thought were important no longer hold the same significance. The pain we endure often leads to a shift in perspective, helping us focus on what truly matters: our relationship with God, the well-being of others, and living out our purpose with passion and authenticity. In the midst of testing, we are given the opportunity to recalibrate our lives, to align ourselves more closely with God's will, and to pursue the path He has laid out for us. This process of refining our purpose helps us focus on the eternal rather than the temporary, allowing us to live with greater intention and clarity. Through testing, we also learn the importance of gratitude. When life is easy, it can be easy to take things for granted, but trials have a way of shifting our focus. In the midst of hardship, we become more aware of the blessings that we still have: the relationships, the strength, the provision, and the hope that God has given us. When we face challenges, we begin to appreciate the things that truly matter, and we learn to give thanks for God's goodness even in difficult circumstances. Gratitude in the midst of testing is an act of faith, a recognition that God is still good and faithful, even when life feels uncertain. Ultimately, testing prepares us for the greater things God has in store. Each challenge we face is an opportunity for growth, transformation, and deepening our relationship with God. While the process of testing can be uncomfortable, it is through these challenges that we are equipped to handle the blessings that God is preparing for us. The pain of the present moment becomes a stepping stone to the breakthrough that is ahead. As we endure trials, we can trust that God is using them to shape us, to purify our hearts, and to prepare us for the purpose He has called us to fulfill. As we journey through life, facing the tests and trials that come our way, we must remember that these challenges are not in vain. They are opportunities for growth, transformation, and preparation for the breakthrough that God has already set in motion for our lives. Each trial we endure, each moment of hardship we face, is part of God's divine plan to shape us into the people He has called us to be. Through these tests, He refines our character, strengthens our faith, and equips us for the future He has in store. God is with us every step of the way, walking through the fire with us, never leaving us nor forsaking us. His presence is our comfort, His faithfulness our anchor, and His promises our hope. The breakthrough we long for is not just a distant dream, it is the result of God's faithful work in our lives, preparing us for something greater than we can even imagine. As we persevere through the trials, we are being molded, strengthened, and positioned for the abundant blessings that are to come. So, take heart in the midst of your testing. Trust in God's timing, rely on His strength, and keep your eyes fixed on the greater purpose He is working out in you. Remember, the breakthrough is coming, and it will be worth every moment of struggle you endure. In the end, the tests you face today are not just a temporary struggle. They are preparing you for the incredible future that God has designed for you. Keep the faith and let Him do His refining work in your life.